There's always been a form of uprising to change something.
You can't tell the oppressed how to protest, bruh. You know what I'm saying? All these people is hurt right now. All these people suffering pain. All these people going through real, you feel me, bruh? So you can't tell them how they're supposed to react, how they're supposed to lash out.
This is not going to be an easy battle, especially when the political will eventually dies down as far as the public goes.
If this pattern continues, we'll see lots of cases. We'll go into panic mode. We'll pull people back out of work and out of being in society. The numbers will drop again, and then we'll relax things so much that it'll just come back up again, and it's just going to be one big hump after another.
From Pacifica Radio, this is COVID, Race, and Democracy, a collective effort by producers from the Pacifica Network and radio affiliates. I'm Scott Baba. In today's edition of COVID, Race, and Democracy, Patrice Cullors, a co-founder of Black Lives Matter, talks about police violence. Hard Knock Radio takes to the streets of Oakland to hear the voices of protesters and speaks to police reform advocates about what it will take to improve police departments. Kimberly Crenshaw discusses the impact of COVID-19 on communities of color, and Dr. John Swartzberg explores what the coronavirus landscape could look like in the coming months as states continue to reopen. But first, the news.
I'm Eileen Alfandary with KPFA News headlines. The House Judiciary Committee is expected to approve a sweeping package to overhaul police oversight, procedures, training, and to limit police immunity. Committee Chair Gerald Nadler gavelled the meeting to order in the last hour and laid out some of the key provisions.
Makes it easier for the federal government to successfully prosecute police misconduct cases, bans chokeholds, ends racial and religious profiling, encourages prosecutions independent from local police, and eliminates the dubious court-made doctrine of qualified immunity in civil rights lawsuits against law enforcement officers. At the same time, it addresses systemic racism and works to prevent police violence and bias through a series of front-end approaches aimed at encouraging departments to meet a gold standard in training, hiring, de-escalation strategies, bystander duty, and use of body cameras and other best practices.
Nadler thanked activists, saying it was because of their energy, determination, and demands for justice that the Congress was getting set to act. Earlier this morning, Senate Republicans unveiled their policing legislation authored by the only black Republican Senator, Tim Scott of South Carolina. It would establish an enhanced use of force database, restrictions on chokeholds, commissions to study law enforcement and race, and new training.
The duty to intervene, not standing there watching an officer with his knee on the neck, but intervening in those situations. We can train our officers better. We can find ways and mechanisms to de-escalate the situation.
Federal authorities say an active duty Air Force sergeant with ties to the so-called Boogaloo right-wing extremist movement killed a federal security officer outside the Oakland Federal Courthouse on May 29th. During a night of protests against the Minneapolis police killing of George Floyd. Federal authorities have charged Air Force Staff Sergeant Stephen Carrillo with murder in the shooting of Officer David Patrick Underwood and the attempted murder of another officer. Carrillo separately faces state charges in the fatal shooting and ambush of a Santa Cruz County Sheriff's deputy and the wounding of 4 other officers on June 6th. U.S. Attorney David Anderson said they tied Carrillo to the Boogaloo movement because of a patch associated with the movement found in his vehicle and words he wrote in his own blood on a vehicle he hijacked. In their criminal complaint, federal officials described a hastily hatched plan to target federal law enforcement during what Carrillo knew would be a night of protest in Oakland of George Floyd's killing. According to the New York Times, the Boogaloo movement has been implicated in other recent arrests in Colorado, Texas, and Ohio, each involving plots to ambush law enforcement. 3 self-proclaimed Boogaloo followers, all military veterans, were arrested on domestic terrorism charges in Nevada. Federal agents said they were scoping out a park ranger station in a national recreation area for a possible firebomb attack. President Trump and Attorney General Bill Barr have without evidence blamed Antifa for property destruction and violence in the midst of the protests against police brutality. They have not singled out the Boogaloo movement.